There are moments in life when time stops. When the air freezes in your lungs and the ground beneath you cracks open. This is the story of one such moment. A moment that would shatter a man who thought he had conquered the world. On a cold November night in Chicago. Rain hammering the pavement. A black Mercedes pulls up to a red light on South State Street. Inside sits Raymond Clark, billionaire, real estate mogul, a man whose name opens doors and silences rooms. He's on his phone, closing another deal when his driver suddenly brakes. On the corner, huddled under a tattered blanket, sits a young woman. Her face is gaunt, her clothes threadbare. In her arms, a little girl shivers. Beside them, a cardboard sign scrawled in shaky letters, "Please help us. My baby needs medicine." Raymond glances up, annoyed at the delay. Then his eyes land on the woman's face. The phone slips from his hand. His voice comes out strangled, barely a whisper. "Stop the car." His driver turns, confused. "Sir?" "I said stop the car." Raymond stumbles out into the rain, his $1,000 shoes splashing through puddles. He crosses the street like a man in a trance. The woman looks up. Their eyes meet. And in that moment, the richest man in Chicago realizes he is looking at the face of his daughter. Before we dive deeper into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. How does the daughter of a billionaire end up begging on the streets of Chicago? And what secret is she protecting that will bring this powerful man to his knees? This isn't a story about money. It's about the things money can't buy, and the price we pay when pride becomes more important than love. Raymond Clark built an empire from nothing. He came from the South Side, fought his way through every obstacle, and transformed himself into one of the most influential men in America. But somewhere along the way, in the pursuit of success, he forgot the difference between building a legacy and building a family. His daughter Aaliyah was his only child. After her mother died when she was 12, Raymond threw himself into work, believing that providing financial security was the same as providing love. He gave her every material thing she could want. Everything except his time. Everything except his understanding. And when she needed him most, when she made choices he couldn't accept, he did something unforgivable. He turned his back on her. He told her she was dead to him. And he believed in his arrogance that she would come crawling back. She never did. Until now. Until this moment on a rain-soaked street corner 5 years later. Let's go back to where it all began to fall apart. Back to a spring evening in 2018, in Raymond's penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan. Aaliyah was 23 years old, fresh out of Northwestern University with a degree in social work. While her father had hoped she'd join his company, she had other plans. She wanted to work with homeless youth on the West Side. Raymond couldn't understand it. He had built this empire so she wouldn't have to struggle, so she wouldn't have to see the poverty he'd clawed his way out of. And here she was, choosing to walk right back into it. "You're wasting your education," he told her one night over dinner. The dining room was silent except for the clink of silverware on fine china. "I didn't pay for Northwestern so you could play savior to people who don't want to be saved." Aaliyah set down her fork. Her voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "Not everyone measures success in dollars, Dad. Some people measure it in lives changed." "That's naive," Raymond shot back. "The world doesn't care about your good intentions. Money is power. Power is respect. Everything else is sentiment." "Then maybe that's where we differ," Aaliyah said quietly. "Because I'd rather have love than respect. I'd rather have connection than power." The argument should have ended there. But it didn't. Because 3 months later, Aaliyah came home with news that would change everything. She was engaged. His name was Isaiah Turner, a community organizer she'd met at the youth center. He was brilliant, passionate, and committed to social justice. He was also broke, working 3 jobs to support his younger siblings after their parents passed away. Raymond took one look at Isaiah and saw everything he'd fought to escape. He saw struggle. He saw limitation. He saw a man who would drag his daughter down into a life of poverty and endless hardship. "You're not marrying him," Raymond said flatly when Aaliyah brought Isaiah to dinner. "I won't allow it." Aaliyah's eyes filled with tears, but her voice didn't waver. "I'm 23 years old. I don't need your permission. As long as you live under my roof and benefit from my name, you do. Then I'll leave." Raymond laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "You won't last a month out there without my money. Come back when reality hits you and maybe we can talk about what real life looks like." That night, Aaliyah packed 2 suitcases. She took only what she'd bought with her own money, her clothes, her books, her laptop. She left behind the credit cards, the car, the designer bags. She left behind everything that connected her to Raymond Clark's empire. And as she walked out the door, Raymond called after her, "If you walk out now, don't bother coming back. You're making a choice. Live with it." She never looked back. The door closed. And Raymond convinced himself it was for the best. She'd learn. She'd struggle for a few weeks, maybe a few months, and then she'd realize he was right. She'd come back humbled and ready to accept his guidance. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. And Aaliyah never called. Until now, on this November night. Raymond stands in the rain, staring at his daughter. She looks so different from the girl who walked out of his penthouse 5 years ago. Her face is thinner, harder. There are lines around her eyes that weren't there before. But it's her, unmistakably her. "Aaliyah," he breathes. She flinches at the sound of her name. The little girl in her arms, maybe 3 or 4 years old, stirs and coughs, a wet, rattling sound that makes Raymond's chest tighten. "What are you doing here?" His voice comes out harsher than he intends, still laced with shock. Aaliyah pulls the blanket tighter around the child. "What does it look like I'm doing?" "I'm trying to survive." "Where's—" Raymond can't finish the question. He doesn't even know if he wants to know the answer. "Isaiah died," Aaliyah says flatly, her voice empty of emotion. 2 years ago. Construction accident. No insurance. No savings. Just debt and a daughter who needed to eat." The words hit Raymond like physical blows. A daughter. A granddaughter. And Isaiah, the man he'd dismissed, the man he'd refused to acknowledge, was gone. "Why didn't you call me?" Raymond's voice cracks. "Why didn't you?" "Call you?" Aaliyah's laugh is sharp and broken. "You told me not to come back. You told me I was dead to you. Why would I call someone who made it clear I didn't exist?" "I didn't mean," but Raymond stops because he did mean it. In that moment 5 years ago, fueled by rage and wounded pride, he meant every word. He wanted her to feel abandoned. He wanted her to understand what it meant to defy him. The little girl coughs again, worse this time. Her small body shakes with the effort. Aaliyah rubs her back, murmuring soft words, but there's fear in her eyes. "She's sick," Aaliyah says quietly. "Respiratory infection. I've been trying to get her antibiotics, but the clinic won't see us without insurance, and the emergency room bills from last time are still sitting on my floor, and her voice breaks. "I don't know what to do anymore." Raymond's driver has gotten out of the car now, holding an umbrella, watching this scene unfold with wide eyes. Raymond doesn't care. Let him watch. Let him see the mighty Raymond Clark brought low by the consequences of his own cruelty. "Come with me," Raymond says. "Right now. We're taking her to Northwestern Memorial. Best doctors in the city. I'll handle everything." Aaliyah shakes her head. "I don't want your money. This isn't about money." Raymond's voice rises, raw with desperation. "This is about your daughter. My granddaughter. Whatever happened between us, forget it. Just let me help her." For a long moment, Aaliyah just stares at him. Then she looks down at the child in her arms, at her daughter's flushed cheeks and labored breathing. And something in her breaks. "Okay," she whispers. "Okay." Raymond helps them into the car. His driver doesn't ask questions, just heads straight for the hospital. In the back seat, Raymond watches Aaliyah cradle her daughter, and he sees what 5 years of his absence has created. This is what his pride cost. This is what his need to be right has done. The little girl opens her eyes briefly. They're the same shade of brown as her mother's, as Raymond's late wife's. She looks at him with innocent curiosity before another cough racks her small frame. "What's her name?" Raymond asks softly. Aaliyah's voice is barely audible. "Nina. We named her after Mom." And there it is, the final twist of the knife. His granddaughter carries his late wife's name. The woman who taught him about love before the money and power consumed him. The woman who would be devastated to know what he'd become. At Northwestern Memorial's emergency room, Raymond watches as nurses rush Nina away, Aaliyah following close behind. A doctor approaches Raymond in the waiting room. Dr. Patricia Chin, her badge reads. She's young, efficient, all business. "Mr. Clark, I understand you're covering the expenses. The child has severe pneumonia. We're administering 4 antibiotics now, but we need to run more tests. Based on the mother's description of her symptoms over the past few weeks, this should have been treated much earlier. Why did you wait so long to bring her in?" The accusation in her voice is clear. Raymond opens his mouth to defend himself, then realizes he has no defense. This is his fault. Not directly, but the chain of events leads back to him. "Just do whatever she needs," he says quietly. "Money is not an issue." Dr. Chen's expression softens slightly. She'll be okay. But Mr. Clark, this little girl is severely malnourished. When was the last time she had a proper meal? Raymond has no answer. He sinks into a plastic waiting room chair, his expensive suit out of place among the other worried families. For the first time in decades, Raymond Clark feels powerless. Hours pass. Raymond makes phone calls to his assistant, clearing his schedule for the next week. He doesn't explain why. Around 3 in the morning, Aaliyah emerges from Nina's room. She looks exhausted, but there's color back in her cheeks. She sits 2 chairs away from Raymond, maintaining distance. She's sleeping, Aaliyah says. They said she'll need to stay for a few days, but she's going to be fine. Good. That's good. Raymond doesn't know what else to say. The silence stretches on between them. Finally, Aaliyah speaks. I didn't want this. I didn't want to need you. I know. After Isaiah died, I tried everything. I worked 2 jobs while Nina was in daycare, but the cost of childcare ate up most of what I made. Then Nina started getting sick and I couldn't afford to miss work, but I couldn't send a sick child to daycare. It became this impossible cycle. I lost my jobs. Lost our apartment. I kept thinking I could fix it myself, that I could figure it out without crawling back to you. Raymond's throat feels tight. Why didn't you reach out to any of my associates? Someone who knew me? Aaliyah turns to look at him directly for the first time. Because you made it very clear what you thought of my choices. You made it very clear that asking for help would mean admitting you were right and I was wrong. And I couldn't, her voice cracks. I couldn't give you that satisfaction. Even if it meant Nina and I slept in shelters. Even if it meant going hungry. I couldn't let you win. This wasn't about winning, Raymond says, but even as the words leave his mouth, he knows they're a lie. It was about winning. It was about being right. It was about his ego and his pride and his need to control everything, even his daughter's life. Wasn't it? Aaliyah asks. You wanted me to fail so I'd come back and admit that your way was the only way. That money and power were more important than love and purpose. Well, congratulations, Dad. I failed. You were right. Are you happy now? The question hangs in the air between them. Raymond looks at his daughter, really looks at her. She's 28 years old now, but she looks older. Life has aged her in ways that have nothing to do with years. And he realizes with crushing clarity that he has missed everything. He missed her wedding. He missed the birth of his granddaughter. He missed Isaiah's funeral. He missed the moment when everything fell apart for her and she needed someone to catch her. No, Raymond says quietly. I'm not happy. I haven't been happy since you walked out that door. I just didn't know how to admit I was wrong. Aaliyah wipes her eyes. Isaiah was a good man. He worked harder than anyone I've ever known. He loved me and Nina with everything he had. And you never gave him a chance because he didn't fit into your vision of what success should look like. I know, Raymond says. And for the first time in 5 years he means it. I was wrong about him. I was wrong about everything. The admission seems to take something out of him. Raymond leans back in his chair, suddenly feeling every one of his 62 years. Tell me about him. Tell me about Isaiah. Tell me about the life I missed. And so, in the quiet hours of the morning in a hospital waiting room, Aaliyah tells him. She tells him about the small wedding in a community center, officiated by the pastor who'd known Isaiah since he was a boy. She tells him about their tiny apartment in Englewood, how Isaiah would come home exhausted from his construction job and still find energy to play with Nina. She tells him about the gardens Isaiah started in vacant lots, teaching neighborhood kids how to grow vegetables. She tells him about the night of the accident, how Isaiah had stayed late to help a coworker finish a dangerous job because the man had a family to feed and couldn't afford to lose the overtime. He was trying to secure some scaffolding, Aaliyah says, her voice distant. Something gave way. He fell 3 stories. They said he died instantly, but I don't know if that makes it better or worse. Raymond listens, and with every word, he feels the weight of his mistakes growing heavier. He judged Isaiah without knowing him. He dismissed a man who exemplified everything Raymond claimed to value: hard work, dedication, sacrifice. But Isaiah's sacrifices were for others, not for building an empire. And Raymond couldn't see past his own narrow definition of worth. I'm sorry, Raymond finally says. I'm sorry for all of it. For not being there. For not knowing him. For making you feel like you couldn't come to me when everything fell apart. Aaliyah nods slowly. I'm sorry too. I'm sorry for letting my pride keep Nina from knowing her grandfather. She deserves family. Even if that family is complicated. As dawn breaks outside the hospital windows, something shifts between them. It's not forgiveness, not yet. But it's the possibility of it. It's a door, cracked open just slightly, letting in the first rays of light after years of darkness. 3 days later, Nina is released from the hospital. The color has returned to her face, and she's chattering excitedly about the stuffed animals the nurses gave her. Raymond has arranged for them to stay in a suite at the Peninsula Hotel while they figure out next steps. Aaliyah initially refused, but one look at Nina's delighted face when she saw the room made her relent. Raymond visits every day bringing food, toys, books. He's awkward around Nina at first. He was never comfortable with children even when Aaliyah was young. But Nina is fearless in the way only children can be. She climbs into his lap during their second visit and announces that he's her big grandpa because he's tall. It's during one of these visits that Raymond notices something. Aaliyah keeps stepping away to take phone calls, her voice hushed and tense. When she returns, her face is drawn with worry. Finally, on the 4th day, Raymond asks, "What's going on? And don't tell me nothing. I know that look." Aaliyah hesitates, then sighs. "It's Isaiah's family. His younger brothers and sister. After he died, I tried to help them, but I could barely help myself. They've been staying with different relatives, but it's not stable. Christopher, the oldest, is 17 now. He's trying to keep them together, but Child Services is threatening to put the younger two, Zoe and Aiden, into foster care. Christopher called me because he doesn't know what to do." Raymond processes this information. "How old are the younger ones?" "Zoe is 13. Aiden is 10. They're good kids. Isaiah raised them after their parents died. He was only 20 when he became their guardian. He gave up his own dreams to take care of them, and now," Aaliyah's voice breaks, "now they're going to be separated because I couldn't keep my promise to Isaiah to look after them if anything happened to him." "Where are they now?" "With an aunt in Gary, but she's got her own kids and she's struggling. She can't afford 3 more. Christopher is sleeping on a couch. Zoe and Aiden are sharing a room meant for toddlers. It's not sustainable." Raymond is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, "Bring them here." Aaliyah blinks. "What?" "Bring them to Chicago. I have a house in Hyde Park that's been sitting empty. 8 bedrooms. Fully furnished. It was supposed to be an investment property, but I never got around to leasing it. They can stay there." "Dad, I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. I'm offering." Raymond's voice is firm. "These kids were Isaiah's family. That makes them Nina's family. That makes them our family. End of discussion." For the first time since their reunion, Aaliyah smiles. A real smile, not weighted down by exhaustion or grief. "Thank you." 2 weeks later, Christopher, Zoe, and Aiden move into the Hyde Park house. Raymond watches as Nina runs through the halls, ecstatic to have other kids around. Christopher is wary of Raymond at first, protective of his siblings and suspicious of wealthy men bearing gifts. But slowly, as Raymond shows up consistently, helping Christopher study for his GED, taking Zoe to basketball practice, teaching Aiden how to play chess, the walls come down. One evening, Raymond sits on the back porch with Christopher. The kid is tall and lean with Isaiah's same intense focus. He's been working part-time at a grocery store while trying to finish high school online. "You don't have to work anymore," Raymond says. "Focus on your education. I'll cover everything the family needs." Christopher shakes his head. "I appreciate what you're doing, Mr. Clark. Really. But I need to work. I need to know I can take care of them if this all goes away." Raymond understands that fear. It's the same fear that drove him for decades. The fear of losing everything, of returning to poverty, of being powerless. "It's not going away, Christopher. You have my word." "Respectfully, sir, I don't know you well enough to trust your word." Christopher's voice is steady, not defiant, just honest. "Isaiah taught us not to depend on anyone completely. He taught us to be self-sufficient." "Your brother was a wise man," Raymond says quietly. "Wiser than me, certainly. But there's a difference between being self-sufficient and being too proud to accept help when it's genuinely offered." Christopher looks at him, really looks at him. "Is that what happened between you and Aaliyah? Too much pride?" Raymond nods slowly. "On both sides. I was too proud to admit I might be wrong about her choices. She was too proud to admit she needed help. And we both suffered for it. But I'm trying to be better. So let me ask you something. When you're working at that grocery store, who's helping Zoe with her math homework? Who's making sure Aiden gets to his therapy appointments?" Christopher's jaw tightens because Raymond has hit on the truth. He can't be everywhere at once. "That's what family does," Raymond continues. "We fill in the gaps for each other. You want to work? Fine. Work part-time. Keep your independence. But let me handle the rest. Let Aaliyah help with homework. Let me drive Aiden to his appointments. You don't have to carry everything alone anymore." Something shifts in Christopher's expression. Okay, he says finally. Okay, I can try that. How would you feel if you were in Raymond's position, trying to rebuild a relationship you destroyed? Let us know in the comments. We really want to hear your thoughts. 6 months pass. Spring arrives in Chicago, bringing with it a kind of renewal that feels almost metaphorical. Nina is thriving, healthy, and happy. She's enrolled in preschool now, and she comes home every day with drawings to show her big grandpa. Christopher has aced his GED and been accepted to several universities. Zoe made the middle school basketball team. Aiden's therapist says his anxiety has improved significantly now that his home life is stable. And Aaliyah is returning to life. The hollow look in her eyes has faded. She's enrolled in a graduate program for social work, planning to get her master's degree. She and Raymond have dinner once a week, just the two of them, slowly rebuilding what was broken. But Raymond knows there's still a debt unpaid. A reckoning that must come. One Saturday morning he drives out to Graceland Cemetery. He hasn't been here since his wife died 15 years ago. The path to her grave is overgrown, and Raymond feels a stab of guilt. He's neglected her memory just as he neglected everything that wasn't related to building his empire. But today he's not here for his wife's grave. He's here for another one. Isaiah Turner's grave is in a newer section of the cemetery, marked by a simple headstone. Someone, probably Christopher and Aaliyah, has planted flowers around it. Raymond stands before the grave, feeling awkward and inadequate. What do you say to a dead man you wronged? I don't know if you can hear me, Raymond begins quietly. I don't know what I believe about what comes after. But I need to say this. I need you to know. He clears his throat. I was wrong about you, Isaiah. I judged you without knowing you. I saw your circumstances and made assumptions about your character. I let my own fears and prejudices blind me to the kind of man you were. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't give you a chance. I'm sorry I made Aaliyah choose between us. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you died to support her and Nina and your siblings. Raymond's voice cracks. You did something I never could. You loved without conditions. You sacrificed without resentment. You built something more valuable than any empire. You built a family that loved each other. And I destroyed that with my pride and my arrogance. He wipes his eyes, not caring if anyone sees. I can't undo what I did. But I can promise you this, I will take care of them. All of them. Christopher, Zoe, Aiden, Nina, Aaliyah. They're my family now. I won't let you down again. I won't let them down again. A breeze rustles through the trees, carrying the scent of fresh-cut grass and spring flowers. Raymond sits on the ground beside the grave, his expensive suit getting grass stains. He doesn't care. For a long time he just sits there, keeping vigil for a man he never knew but wishes he had. When he finally stands to leave, he sees Aaliyah standing a short distance away. He doesn't know how long she's been there, but from the tears on her face she heard everything. I come here every Sunday, she says softly, to talk to him. To tell him about Nina, about what's happening with his siblings. I never expected to find you here. Raymond walks over to her. I needed to apologize. To him. For everything. Aaliyah nods. He would have forgiven you. Isaiah wasn't capable of holding grudges. He believed people could change, that redemption was always possible. It used to frustrate me sometimes how optimistic he was. But maybe he was right. Maybe people can change. I'm trying, Raymond says. I don't know if I'm succeeding, but I'm trying. You are, Aaliyah says. You are succeeding. Nina loves you. Christopher looks up to you. You've given us all something we desperately needed, stability, security, family. That counts for something. They stand together at Isaiah's grave, father and daughter, united in grief and hope. And Raymond realizes that this moment, this quiet moment of reconciliation, is worth more than every deal he's ever closed, every building he's ever built, every million he's ever made. Dad, Aaliyah says quietly, I forgive you. For all of it. I forgive you. Those simple words break something open in Raymond's chest. He pulls his daughter into a hug and they cry together, washing away 5 years of hurt and anger and pride. When they finally pull apart, Aaliyah smiles through her tears. Nina's been asking when you're coming to her school's spring concert. She's singing a solo. I wouldn't miss it for anything, Raymond says. And he means it. Because he's learned, finally after 62 years of life, what really matters. It's not the board meetings or the property deals or the profit margins. It's the little girl who calls him Big Grandpa. It's the teenager who asks his advice about college. It's the daughter who calls him on Tuesday evenings just to talk. It's the family you choose to show up for again and again without conditions or expectations. So what happened next? Life happened. Beautiful, messy, ordinary life. Raymond stepped back from his company, promoting his deputy to CEO while he took on a chairman role that required far less time. He spent his newfound freedom with his family. He taught Nina how to ride a bike. He helped Christopher move into his dorm. He attended every single one of Zoe's basketball games, becoming the loudest cheerleader in the stands. He took Aiden to therapy appointments and learned how to help when the boy's anxiety flared up. He and Aaliyah rebuilt their relationship slowly, through Sunday dinners and Wednesday phone calls and small moments of shared joy. They talked about her mother, keeping her memory alive for Nina. They talked about Isaiah, ensuring his legacy lived on. And sometimes they talked about the 5 years they lost, not to dwell in regret, but to remind themselves never to let pride come between them again. Raymond established the Isaiah Turner Foundation, providing scholarships for young people who, like Isaiah, had to become adults too soon, taking care of siblings or working multiple jobs to survive. Christopher would eventually run the foundation, using his own experiences to guide others through similar struggles. And Raymond learned something that no business school had ever taught him: that wealth means nothing if you have no one to share it with. That success without connection is just organized loneliness. That the real measure of a man's life isn't what he accumulates, but what he gives away and who he shows up for. The story could have ended differently. Raymond could have driven past that street corner. He could have looked away, protecting himself from the pain of confronting his mistakes. Aaliyah could have refused his help, letting pride lead her and Nina further into hardship. But they didn't. They chose differently. They chose forgiveness over resentment. They chose connection over pride. They chose love. So now I ask you, what would you have done in Raymond's position? If you saw someone you loved in desperate need, someone you'd wronged, someone you'd pushed away, would you have the courage to step out of that car? To admit you were wrong? To risk rejection in pursuit of reconciliation? And if you were Aaliyah, could you forgive someone who'd hurt you so deeply? Could you accept help from someone who'd failed you when you needed them most? These aren't easy questions. The choices we make when pride and love collide. The moments when we decide what matters more, being right or being connected. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about your own relationships and the bridges you might need to rebuild, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like this video if you believe in the power of second chances. Subscribe to our channel because we're committed to bringing you more stories that remind us of our shared humanity, stories that challenge us to be better, to love harder, to forgive deeper. And let us know in the comments, have you ever had to choose between pride and love? How did it turn out? We read every comment and your stories matter to us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this community. And remember, it's never too late to say I'm sorry. It's never too late to come home. It's never too late to love.